this is only the tip of the iceberg, but let not your heart be troubled. We believe justice is finally coming. Here with more is the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro, California Congressman Devin Nunes, and Flynn attorney Sidney Powell. Good to see you all. Sidney, so we're now seeing, from what I can see, that we have this coalition, deep staters, now know that a lot has been exposed with the release of these transcripts, things that we didn't know before, things that, for example, contradict Adam Schiff, show him and prove him to be a liar, and all the other developments. But now they're ratcheting up their attacks and trying to put pressure on Judge Sullivan not to do the right thing and vacate this as soon as possible.
Well, the government has given Judge Sullivan ample authority to do what the law requires him to do, and that's to grant the government's motion to dismiss. The executive branch is responsible for prosecutions. It's a separation of powers principle. And of course, he did the same thing in the Stevens case when it was Eric Holder that came in as brand new Attorney General and moved to dismiss the Stevens case because there again, prosecutors had withheld evidence that showed former Alaska Senator Ted Stevens was innocent and led the jury to convict on the basis of evidence that was false. The same principles apply here. The government has uncovered evidence that was withheld from the defense that completely destroys the government's theory of the case and their narrative on it, and shows that Mr. Van Grack and the career government prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office who've been assigned to this case, as well as Ms. Ahmad, who was on special counsel, have been lying to the court the entire time about withholding exculpatory evidence.
You know, Devin Nunes, first of all, we now can look back with the release of these, 50-some-odd transcripts. And by the way, pouring through the thousands of pages is monotonous, dull, boring, and everything in between. But there are a lot of facts in there. The biggest fact that emerges in my mind is that you told the American people the truth in the Nunes memo. We now know that Adam Schiff was hearing from Clapper and Rice and Powers and just about every other official when asked the important question about, oh, is there any evidence that you saw about any Trump-Russia collusion? Well, Adam Schiff, the congenital liar, was told no, repeatedly. And at the same time, he would then go out to the American people with the complicit, compliant media mob with an agenda, and he would lie day after day and say, we have all the evidence, when he was hearing the exact opposite behind closed doors. And my only complaint with you is you didn't feed that information to me so I could get it out to the public.
Yeah, well, look, you have the state-run media is exactly right. 90% of the media in this country is controlled by the Democratic Party, and they are largely to blame for this cover-up. Now, look, where we go from here, the judge needs to dismiss this case, and hopefully he brings these prosecutors in to question them and get them on the record. We are conducting an investigation, House Republicans, into the Mueller team. It's very questionable as to why didn't they find the information that we found? Why did they spend $40 million? And yet a lot of what you find in our information, in our transcripts, and in our report, they didn't seem to find or care about. Those are the questions, Sean, that we have moving forward, and hopefully we will continue to get answers.
Judge, if you go back to the struck page text, let's see, the White House wants to be kept up to speed on everything. And you go back to the insurance policy. Now we can go back and we can see this January 5th meeting that took place inside the White House, and Barack Obama was there, and Sally Yates testified, and we now know, we didn't know this before, well, we know a couple of things. McCabe said without the dossier, we don't have any warrants. That's an important point that they were denying in the media. But we also know Sally Yates said she was shocked to know that Obama understood everything that had taken place in the unmasked phone call of General Flynn. Wow. What did he know and when did he know it? I'd like to know.
Well, clearly, Sean, what we're finding out now is that this was a full court press on the part of the Obama administration, the Obama-Biden administration. Remember, Biden was in the room on January 5th of 2017 to conduct a coup, a bloodless one nonetheless, to make sure that Donald Trump suffered whatever they could make him suffer at the hands of Michael Flynn, Papadopoulos, Manafort, and Carter Page. They were willing to violate everyone's constitution constitutional rights and to make sure that they could get someone to flip against this president. They were willing to lie to us. They lied to us from the get-go about Russia. They knew there was no Russia collusion. They swore to it under oath because they knew under oath that they had to tell the truth. And yet they continued to lie to the American people so as to take out Donald Trump as a legitimately elected president of the United States.
Was Obama?
These people have to be made accountable. And when we find out that Susan Rice, on the day that the president is being brought into the Oval Office, says we have to do everything by the book, to me as a prosecutor, that's a self-serving statement. You're worried that you weren't doing things by the book, and that's why you're saying it. This is all the kind of stuff that Durham and Barr have to get. Sorry.
Exit question, yes or no. Sydney, Obama's comments this weekend, he's been awfully quiet. Was he sending a message to deep state operatives to go out and do more dirty work? Because that's how I interpreted it.
Oh, I think his comments reflect that Mr. Barr is over the target and apparently dropping some effective bombs, and he's desperate to try to rally the troops to buttress his pathetic arguments.
Devin?
I would just say, Sean, go back to August of 2016. We know that the White House is being briefed. We now know that the Clinton team, she knew about this Russian operation. So it's hard to believe. And quite frankly, it's just hard to believe. Obama knew, Hillary Clinton knew, everybody at FBI and DOJ knew. They all knew.
We got to bring them under oath. I got to roll. Thank you all. Good to see you all.